Okay, everyone, welcome. It's Carol Boskert of the Blueprint Practice, and I'm really delighted to let you know that we've got Carol Stewart from Abounding Solutions with us today, and she's going to be doing a webinar on how to move from fear to fabulous in your career or business. So I'm not going to speak anymore. I'm going to hand over to Carol. Take it away.
Right, thank you, Carol. From one Carol to another.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming online. Welcome to How to Move from Fear to Fabulous in Your Career or Business. This is going to be an interactive session, and I will be asking questions and asking you to type your responses in the box to the questions. And the reason why I do this is so that it helps you to get your fears out into the open, and by doing that, that is the first step in helping to overcome those fears. And also, the other reason why I do it as well is because when you're going through a situation, sometimes you think you're the only person, but when you see that there are hundreds and hundreds of other people just like you going through similar situations as you, then it helps to know that you're not alone, you're not the only one who's experiencing those fears or those issues. So the more that you put in is the more that you will get out. So I hope that you will engage and you will be interactive as well, so that you can get the maximum benefits from this webinar. And for some of you, what I'm going to share with you tonight, will be enough for you to go away and make some positive changes in your lives. But for some of you, you'll need further support. And if it's okay with you, I will let you know later on in the webinar how I can help you, and I'll let you know about an online program that I'm starting next week, and I will give you an offer for it. But I won't be asking you to make a decision today, and I won't be asking you to make a decision tomorrow. You'll be able to go away and think about it. Right, so let's begin. So before we get into the webinar, I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and so you can get an idea as to why I do what I do and understand my background and where I'm coming from. So as a child, I always lacked confidence. I was a quiet, shy child, and my earliest memory of being sort of shy and lacking confidence was just before I started school, and my mum took me along to meet the teachers and to meet the other children. And I remember being in the school hall and all the other kids were laughing and playing together, and I was clinging on to my mum. I was too scared to join in. And that was more or less the story of my life throughout my childhood and my teens. Never really putting myself in the limelight, always taking a back seat, too scared to go out there and put myself forward. And once I got to my 20s, I became a single mum. I separated from my son's father when my son was 7, and I suddenly thought, well, I don't want my son to grow up like me. I want my son to be bold and courageous and to go out there and put himself forward and not to be afraid of doing it. So I recognized I needed to do something if I wanted to be a good role model for my son. And so I started to do a lot of work on my personal development. I attended courses, I read books, mentors. And as I became more self-aware, I recognized that I wasn't actually lacking confidence. I looked at some of the things that I was doing compared to some of my so-called confident friends, and I was doing more bolder things than what they were doing. And I realized that it's not that I lacked confidence, it's just that I was a quiet person. And I'd mistaken being quiet for lacking confidence. And I will never be a life and soul of the party type person, because I'm a quiet person, and I accept myself as a quiet person. And once I accepted myself as I was, my confidence level soared. I'm a quiet, confident person. And I started working for the UK Ministry of Justice at the age of 16, a very junior position, and I worked my way up to a senior management position. So I would always go for opportunities for development. I would always take any training that was going, any opportunities, I would go for it. And that enabled me to climb from the most junior position in the organisation to that of a senior manager, managing a group of magistrates' courts. And I loved what I did. It was very varied. I had lots of opportunities for development, and all was good in my world. And then in 2011, things started to change. When the new government came in 2010 and introduced the austerity measures, lots of cuts were made in the public sector, and that included where I worked. People were leaving and not being replaced, courts were closing, and the work was piling up. We were expected to deliver the same targets but with less resources, and it was a very pressurised time. I would be working till 8:30 in the evening sometimes, taking work home in the evenings, working weekends. But despite all this, I still had it in the back of my mind that I would stay there till I retired and I collected the golden clock. And then I had my light bulb moment. Whilst all this was going on and all the changes were being made, and a decision was made that my post and all those who had migrated across the country, our posts were going to be deleted, which meant that I would need to be either redeployed, or the positions that I could apply for didn't really interest me. And I thought, I want to be in control of what I do. I want to be in control of my career. And I thought to myself, what can I do? And I thought this could be an opportunity for me at the age of 44 to make some changes and to do something totally different that I'm really passionate about. And I thought about what I'd enjoyed over the years and what I was good at, and that was coaching. Coaching had always been an add-on to my job as a manager, and it was the thing that I really enjoyed, helping to develop, empower, motivate, encourage individuals and teams. And so I decided that I was going to take voluntary redundancy. And so in September 2011, I said goodbye to my colleagues, some of whom I'd worked for many, many years and had grown up with, basically. And I started my business, Abounding Solutions, and at the same time, I enrolled at university and I did a master's in coaching psychology. And now I'm a personal development, career and business coach, and I work with women and men who are unhappy at work, but they're too scared to do anything about it. I help them to develop the confidence to make a career move and to do something that they love. And this could be a total career change. It could be climbing the corporate ladder and smashing through the glass ceiling, or it could be exiting the corporate environment and starting their own business. Since leaving employment, I've developed a passion for writing, or I've discovered I have a passion for writing, and I now blog for the Huffington Post, and I publish posts on LinkedIn, long posts on LinkedIn. I'm a member of the Association for Coaching, fellow of the Institute of Leadership and Management, and I have my own networking event called the Ladies Business Brainstorming Club, and we meet the last Tuesday of the month. And it's a great group, so if any of you are online and want to come along, do come along. So enough about me, let's get down to business. Research suggests that a lack of confidence is a key factor in discouraging women from seeking promotions. And this was a survey that was done by YouGov last year. And the Harvard Business Review found that women are still a minority in the top ranks of business due to their perceived lack of vision. So this is quite a big problem for women. So this session will give you an understanding of the importance of having a vision for your career or business, an understanding of what causes us to be fearful, an understanding of how you can overcome the biggest killer of time, otherwise known as procrastination, and how you can develop your resilience, enabling you to embrace change and bounce back from setbacks. And as I said, it's an interactive session, so I will be asking you questions and asking you to type your responses in the box to enable you to get the most out of this session. And why do you think it is important to have a vision for your career or business? And please type your responses in the box, and I will read out, or I'll ask Carol to read out one or two of them. I won't be able to read out everybody's responses, but I'll ask Carol to maybe read about 3 or 4 just to get a feel for what people's thoughts are. So why is it important to have a vision for your career or business? And Carol, if you could please read out as they come along.
Yeah, I think that they're, okay, to be clear where you are going.
Great, thank you.
I don't know if anyone else is going to type something in. We'd love to hear from you.
Any of us? Why do you think it's important?
Oh, okay, I have another one. The vision is a roadmap and helps you focus. Fabulous. Thank you, Anthony.
Great, thank you for that. And yes, having a career vision or a vision for your business is essential for finding job satisfaction and success. And as Anthony said, it's a roadmap. So this is a roadmap. It helps you to focus on your long-term objectives, and it helps you to define and maintain your personal direction. And this enables you to stay focused and motivated, and it also makes it easier for you to get back on track in the event that you suffer any setbacks, say for instance job loss or any other events that will set you back. Because if you've got a clear vision of what it is that you want to achieve, when you get a setback, it'll be easier for you to get back on track. Whereas if you've got no vision at all, you've got to start all over again and thinking, what do I want? What do I need to achieve? What am I aiming for? What do these brands mean to you? Now these brands, they were all what I call top dogs when I was growing up. In Woolworths, as a child, I remember going into Woolworths and spending my pocket money on pick and mix. And how many of you, if you're old enough to remember, used to do that? What do these brands signify to you when you see these brands? Anyone?
Would you just like to put it in the chat box, everyone? What do you think these brands mean? I mean, I agree with you, Carol. I did used to go into Woolworths to pick a mix.
I used to love it as a child.
Gosh, so did I. I love it as an adult. So we've got from Alexandra. She's saying changing technology affects business. Household names from Anthony. Anyone else like to put something in? I mean, I'll tell you what they all mean to me. They're all brands that have gone out of business.
That's right, and that's what has happened. These brands used to be the top brands.
Yeah.
And where are they now? They've gone out of business. Exception of HMV, I think they've still got 1 or 2 stores scattered around, but nowhere like what they used to have. In Kodak, gosh, Kodak was the sort of #1 name for photography and cameras when I was growing up. But these brands, they lacked the vision to move with the times. They were big in their heyday, but because they didn't set out a clear vision and adapt to the changing environment, they're no longer here. And the reason why I'm showing you this, even though you're not like these brands, but you are in a way, you are a brand, you're your own personal brand. And if we fail to have a clear vision and adapt to changes in the environment, changes in technology, like these brands, we get left behind. Like these brands, we don't grow. Like these brands, we become irrelevant. And the survey that YouGov did last year found that 1 in 5 women said a lack of confidence has been a barrier to their professional advancement. Now, what do these brands mean to you when you see these names? What do you think about when you see the likes of Apple and Coca-Cola and Samsung and Google? Anyone?
I'll just give everyone a couple of seconds to type in the chat box. Just want to make sure I get everyone's comments.
Thanks.
So that I read them out. So if you just want to type your comments in, everyone.
What do these brands mean to you? When you look at these brands, what do you think?
Oh, here, lovely one from Claudia. High-performing, innovative companies who are doing really well and who have raving fans. We love raving fans, Claudia.
That's fine.
And Anthony has said, moving with the times and moving with technology. Absolutely right, Anthony. And Alexandra has said, using innovation to be market leaders, deciding what consumers need before they know. Absolutely, Alexandra. That's one of the great things that Apple does.
That's right, and you're all right. These are very innovative. I mean, most people I know have either an iPhone or a Samsung phone. And Coca-Cola's been around for something like 120 years, but yet they're still the #1 fizzy drink in the world. And how do they achieve that? Coca-Cola, in 2012, Coca-Cola set out what they called their 2020 vision. And they set out where they wanted to be by the year 2020, and they set out what the milestones were that they needed to achieve that. And like I said, these are very, very innovative. And that is why we too need to have foresight and vision of where we're going and have a clear roadmap as to what we need to do to get there. Because if we don't, we end up like the Kodaks and the Woolworths. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't. They don't do that. And one of the common reasons why I find is that people are fearful of doing it. They're not keeping themselves marketable. They're not developing themselves or their skills. And in fact, I did a survey. I surveyed some women last year, and only 12% of employed women said that they regularly develop their skills. And I don't know about you, but I think that that is far too low. I believe in continuous self-development because you need to be able to adapt to the changing times and to keep yourself marketable. And in order to do that, you need to have a clear vision, set out your vision of what it is that you want to achieve, and work out what it is that you need to do to get there. And along the way, develop yourself so that you can adapt to any changes in the environment, you can stay innovative, and so you can be like the Samsungs, the Coca-Colas, and the Googles. So which category are you? Are you in the Kodak camp or are you in the Samsung camp? Be interested to know what your thoughts are.
Why don't you type in, everyone, your views on whether you're a Kodak gal or guy or a Samsung rock chick or rock guy.
I know where I want to be. I want to be in the Samsung camp. Who wants to
So
be in the
do
Samsung
I.
camp with me?
Me. Yes, Anthony is the Samsung guy.
Great, Anthony.
We love that.
Welcome to the club. All right, I'll move on. And as I mentioned, a lot of what I find through a lot of the people that I work with is that their fear and a lack of confidence holds them back from creating that vision, that big vision of what they want to achieve. So what does confidence mean to you? When you think about confidence, what does it mean to you? And again, please share your thoughts in the chat box, in the question box. What does confidence mean to you? And if you've got any come through?
Yeah, I would imagine people are typing, hopefully, getting just typing getting their fingers underway. So we've got here, it means going forward. It means going for what you want without fear. Excellent one, Anthony.
Great. I like that.
We've got from Alexandra, ability to work, operate without barriers. Oh, lovely. Lovely one, Alexandra.
That's great. And for me, confidence means being comfortable with who I am and having the courage to do all that I want to do. So, as I mentioned previously, I used to think that I lacked confidence because I was quiet. But I am a confident person because I have the courage to do all that I want to do. And once I accepted myself as a quiet person, that made me feel so much more confident once I accepted myself as I am. In my survey, 78% of women said that fear prevented them from pursuing the career that they really wanted. And I think that is way too high. I don't know about you. Thoughts plus feelings equals behaviour. The way that we think controls how we feel, and we act and behave in accordance to the way that we are feeling. And usually this is as a result of a fear of something that we need to do, or something that we want to do, or something that we have to go through. And I'm going to use examples of clients of mine to help illustrate the points that I'm making, and also to show you how they worked through their situations and the solutions that they applied to their situations. So, examples. Jenny, her fear was public speaking. For June, it was networking. And for Sue, her fear was doing a newsletter. And you might think, what's so scary about doing a newsletter? But as we go through the webinar, you will see why Sue was fearful of doing a newsletter. She had her own business and she kept putting off doing a newsletter. What is it that you're fearful of doing? Again, please share in the box and I'll read some out. And as I mentioned before, a way to start addressing your fears is to get them out in the open. So what is it that you are fearful of doing?
Oh, public speaking. I can recognise that in myself. Or calling companies. So probably maybe doing a bit of cold calling, or even maybe when you've got a you've got a connection, still calling the companies. Yeah, I resonate with that. Definitely with the public speaking one.
Great, thank you for those. And if there's no more, I'll move on. But if anyone does put one through, please do read it out. Carol.
I will.
Thanks. And when you're thinking about this particular situation or thing that you need to do, usually you have a belief about the outcome, and I call that the then what, because you're thinking about this particular thing that you need to do, and then something is going to happen, or you believe that something is going to happen. And I'll give you examples again with my 3 clients. So for Jenny, she believed that she would give out the wrong information and that she would not be able to answer questions. With June, She believed that she wouldn't be able to join in conversations. And for Sue, her belief was that people would not be interested and that she wouldn't be able to deliver. Now with Sue, the underlying cause for Sue was a fear of rejection. Because she thought that if she sent out a newsletter, people would click the unsubscribe button. And that boiled down to Sue as a fear of rejection. And also, she was a bit of a perfectionist because she thought that if she told people she was going to send out a newsletter, whether it's on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, and she wasn't able to deliver that she would lose credibility. Going back to your situations, what is your then what? What is your belief about what will happen? So where your fear is public speaking, what is it that you believe will happen? Or where your fear is cold calling, what is your belief about what will happen? What is your then what?
Mine was, Carol, that for public speaking is that I would just completely forget what to say. And I just wouldn't be able to remember it. I would go completely blank.
Right, okay, thank you for that, Carol.
Right, we've got one here which says, people will not understand me. And, people will not understand me and find my presentation exciting. That's if you're doing public speaking. I'll come over as a fraud. So that would be like maybe for cold calling or something like that.
Thank you for sharing that. Right, and these are all very common fears and beliefs that I come across from time and time again with my clients. So you're not alone. When you're thinking about your situation in this way, it's not helping you. It's not helping you move forward. It's not helping you do the things that you really want to do or the things that you should be doing in order to achieve the success that you want for your career or business. These thoughts are unhelpful. And if you remember what I said, the way that we think controls how we feel, and we act and behave in accordance to the way that we're feeling. And so when you have the belief that something isn't going to work out, you start to feel maybe a bit anxious about it, you may feel a bit stressed, you then fear it, then you think, oh, you don't feel confident about it. And I'll give you some examples of what types of unhelpful thinking you may have. So an example being jumping to conclusions without having relevant information. And I had a client who had been unsuccessful at a couple of interviews, and when he came to me for coaching, his confidence levels were really low, and through talking he told me that he came across as foolish in the interviews, and I couldn't understand why anybody would think that he was foolish, because he was very articulate, he was very well presented. There was nothing to show me that he was foolish. And so I said to him, oh, what did they say in the feedback? But he said he didn't have any feedback. He'd not had any feedback. And so he was jumping to conclusions without having relevant information. There was no evidence to support his belief that he came across as foolish. All or nothing thinking. And this is someone who's a bit of a perfectionist. It can be very stressful being a perfectionist because you will wait for everything to be in place before you take action. And so what happens is then you then put things off. You don't do the things that you want to do because you think it's got to be perfect. So for example with Sue and her putting off her newsletter, because one of the things she thought was that she wouldn't be able to get it out if she said she's going to set it out on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, and if she couldn't do that, so rather than do anything, she did nothing. Labelling yourself. We often label ourselves. We put labels on ourselves. Oh, we're no good, we're too stupid, we're thick, we can't do this. And sometimes these labels we put on ourselves when we're children. But just because you maybe failed an exam when you were 16 doesn't mean to say that you can't study. And often other people will put labels on us. It can even be a parent sometimes. One of my clients was 53 years old, and she'd worked for an organisation for about 30 years, and she got made redundant. And it being sort of thrown out there into the big wide world, so to speak, it brought up a lot of things that had happened in her childhood. And when she was a child, her mum used to tell her that she would never amount to anything good. And so now she was faced with having to, at the age of 53, start all over again. But she kept thinking to herself, oh, she can't, because she's not good enough. And she was carrying this label that her mum had put on her about, you will never amount to anything good. Believing you'll get found out. And I've been guilty of this one. And there's a term that we give to this called imposter syndrome. I got promoted in a relatively short space of time from a junior management position to a senior management position. And when I got placed in this big role, I kept thinking to myself, my gosh, they're going to realise they've made a mistake. Any day now, I'm going to get an email saying, oh, Carol, we're so sorry, we made a mistake, we shouldn't have promoted you. And because of all the work I'd done on myself in terms of my self-development, I quickly realised that I was self-sabotaging. And I said to myself, I went through a fair and open recruitment process, and if they believe that I can do the job, I need to believe that I can do the job. And so what I did was I sat down and I thought, well, what is it about the job that I'm struggling with? And I identified there were just two areas that I was struggling with. One of them is health and safety management, and that's because I found it totally boring, because I'd got responsibility for the health and safety of the whole buildings and everybody that came in it, but to me it was just a very dry subject. And budget management. And that was because I hadn't had any responsibility for managing a budget at that level. And what I did was I got the two people in the organisation who were experts at those particular areas to come and sit down with me and go through with me exactly what I needed to know to enable me to do my job effectively. But if I hadn't done that, I would have continuously beat myself up, and then that would have affected my performance, my confidence, and they probably would have turned around and said, we made a mistake. And what do you think the effects of unhelpful thinking are? Please share your thoughts in the box. What are the effects of unhelpful thinking?
Oh, paralysis.
Great,
From
thank you.
Alexandra. That's a great one, Alexandra.
It is a great one. Any others?
It stops you taking action. Fabulous, Anthony.
Thank you, that's right, Anthony, it does.
They hold you back from performing at your best. Another brilliant one from Claudia.
Great, thank you very much for those.
All great answers, aren't they?
They are fantastic answers, because that is exactly what happens. And using my 3 clients, so you can see how practically it affected them. Jenny wasn't pursuing her ideal career. So she was staying in a job that she hated because the jobs that she wanted to go for involved public speaking. But because of her fear of public speaking, she wasn't going for them. And she was miserable. For June, she wasn't marketing herself effectively. June had her own business, and she was buying in newsletters. Sorry, not newsletters, email lists, and sending out emails to people who she didn't know. And she wasn't getting any responses. But the nature of her business meant that she needed to build up a personal relationship. So the people that she was sending emails to who didn't know her were probably just deleting the emails, or they may even have been ended up in their junk mail, or they may not have been reading them. So her business wasn't growing because of her fear of going out there and meeting new people and building up relationships in a personal way. And for Sue, she wasn't growing her contacts. So she was meeting people, and some of who may have expressed an interest in her services, but she wasn't communicating with them. She was just meeting people, and that was it. So she was really missing out there. Now, those are just a few examples of unhelpful thoughts that I've shown you, and in the program that I'm going to tell you about a bit later, we do go into it in a lot more detail, and you do really drill down into your unhelpful thoughts. But in order to rectify the situation, you need to change those unhelpful thoughts into helpful thoughts. And I'll give you a few examples of how you can do this. So writing down your thinking errors. So those faulty thoughts that you have when you think about your particular situation, and write them down and then change them for a corresponding helpful thought. Now, I had a client who was facing restructuring. Her organisation was going through restructuring, and she had to reapply for her position. There was, I think it was 5 people at that level, and there was only going to be, it was either 2 or 3 positions. So it meant some people would end up getting made redundant. And she'd convinced herself that it was going to be her. And she had convinced herself that she was going, as a result of being made redundant, she would be made homeless. And as a result of this, she was getting very stressed. Her skin was coming out in blotches. Her scalp had become very flaky. And she wasn't sleeping properly because she was so stressed about it. And so when I asked her about, what did she think would happen, and she said, well, she wouldn't get the job. She would mess the interview up. She wouldn't get it. And so I said to her, well, just supposing the worst thing happened, what would you do? And she said, well, what would happen is she would get made redundant, and then she wouldn't be able to pay her mortgage. If she couldn't pay her mortgage, she would have her house repossessed, and if she got her house repossessed, she would be homeless. Now, that was a very irrational way of looking at her situation, but because of how she was thinking and how the effect it was having on her, that was all she was seeing. But by getting her to reflect and really look at her situation and change her faulty thinking into a more rational way of thinking, she was able to see that if the worst did come to the worst, and she did get made redundant, she could get another job. And even if it meant that she didn't get a job straight away, she could rent out a spare room, even though that's not what she wanted to do. But if it meant she could keep her home, she could do that. And she recognised that, well, no matter what, she would be okay. She would find a way of picking herself back up. So by changing her thoughts from being homeless, to what the more rational way of looking at it was, that took away a lot of that stress and anxiety, and she was able to go into that interview feeling a lot more confident, and she got the job. Look for the evidence. So with my client that I mentioned about the interviews who thought he looked foolish, there was no evidence to support what his thoughts. He hadn't had any feedback. Whereas if he'd had feedback, he would have been able to identify the specifics as to why he didn't get the positions. And once he realised this, he recognised that, well, he had been worrying about nothing really, because he didn't know, there was no evidence to support that. Delabeling yourself. So the labels that you've put on yourself, or the label that other people have put on you, throw them away. You don't have to carry those labels. That may have happened a long time ago. That may have been somebody else's view of the situation. It doesn't have to be your reality now. Raise your tolerance levels. And I've only skimmed over how you can change your thoughts to helpful thoughts. In the program that I'm going to tell you about, we do go into it in a lot more detail. And what my clients did, so you can see how they applied it to their situations. Jenny learned to change her thoughts and view her situation more rationally. And what Jenny identified was that if she planned properly for her talks, sort of the preparation for her talks, she did that properly. If she got her information from a reliable source, it would mean that she gives out up-to-date, accurate information. And if anybody asked her a question that she couldn't answer, she could always say to them, "Oh, I'll get back to you." And she identified that in reality the chances of that happening would probably be nil, because she was quite knowledgeable about the subject. In June, she looked for the evidence, and there was none. And she started networking, and she started to enjoy networking. And Sue stopped being a perfectionist, and she pursued her newsletter. And she also recognized that if anybody did unsubscribe, it didn't mean that they were rejecting her. There could be a myriad of reasons why they were unsubscribing. It could be that they get inundated with emails. It could be that they're simply not interested in her services, or it could be that they're getting the services that she offers from somebody else. But it's not about rejecting her. And moving on to procrastination, which I call the biggest killer of time. Now, procrastinators perform worse than non-procrastinators. Research shows this. It shows that procrastinators are less wealthy, they're less healthy, and they're less happy. And often when we're faced with a task that we hate, they're the ones that we tend to put off. And what happens is we get bored, and that signals it's irrelevant, and our minds start to wander. Or sometimes we become so overwhelmed by what we need to do that we keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And before you know it, time has slipped away. And here are a few ways in which you can address this. So if you find that you're doing a particular task and you're finding it's boring, it's not challenging you, and you'll keep putting it off, make things more challenging for yourself. So set yourself personal targets just to make it a bit more challenging, and then maybe reward yourself when you achieve them. Or if you're in employment, take on extra responsibilities. A client of mine who had been so bored at work that it was affecting her performance, and because she was becoming very distracted, she asked her manager for extra responsibilities so that she could challenge herself, keep herself challenged and keep herself a bit more motivated. If you find what you need to do is overwhelming, break it down into manageable chunks. It's good to have the bigger picture in mind, but sometimes the bigger picture can be overwhelming. When you look at what it is that you need to do and you just look at the big picture, you can think, oh my gosh, how am I going to tackle that? And so yes, have the big picture, but then break it down into manageable chunks and do it one chunk at a time. And maybe reward yourself once you've achieved that particular milestone. Eliminate distractions. Microsoft did some research on their employees, and they found that every time, on average, when an employee stopped what they were doing to read an email that had come through, an email notification, it took them, on average, 15 minutes to get back into the flow of what they were doing previously. Now, if you're like me and you get loads of emails every day, imagine every time you stop to read an email as it comes through, if it's taking you 15 minutes to then go back and get into the flow of what you're doing, when you total that up in a day, well, that's a lot of wasted time. So in order to eliminate that, eliminate the distractions. Turn off the email notifications and just check your emails periodically throughout the day. So maybe first thing in the morning, once midday, and then again sort of towards the end of the day, rather than having the constant notification coming through. Or if you're the kind of person that has your mobile phone by your side with your social media notifications on, and every time you get a ping, you're stopping to have a look and seeing, oh, who's done what on Facebook or who's done a tweet. It all adds up and it all takes your time. And a lot of us think it's good to be able to multitask, but research actually shows that multitasking is not actually very effective. It's better to focus on what you're doing and do it really well and then move on to something else. So eliminate your distractions. And I've just skimmed through procrastination, but hopefully what I've given you will be something that you can take away and that you can apply to your situation. Moving on to resilience. And resilience is the ability to cope with the challenges that life throws at you. So it's the ability to be able to, no matter what life throws at you, to be able to pick yourself up and to continue in a normal way. And when you're faced with the fear of the unknown, you feel out of control. And it's as if you don't know what is going to happen. And we like to be in control of our situations. We like to know what is round the corner. And when we're not in control in that way, it can lead to powerlessness, it can lead to stress, it can lead to despair, and it can lead to fear, because we don't feel that we're in control of our bigger picture. And this goes back to our survival instincts. And when we were being hunted by saber-toothed tigers, we needed to know what was coming in order for us to run and to say, run for our lives. But we're not being hunted anymore, so we can relinquish that need to always want to be in control. Now, looking at your situation, what changes are you going through, or what changes are you wanting to make? And what is it about this change that makes you anxious or afraid? And what do you think you could lose as a result of it? And to help you sort of think about these questions, I'll just give you an example of a client of mine who is 65 years old. And I will go into more details in her a bit later, but I'll just sort of briefly tell you that she was faced with redundancy, and she was fearful that because of her age she wouldn't get another job, and that as a result she would end up desolate. Looking at your situations, what changes are you going through, or what changes do you want to make or need to make? And what is it about this change that makes you anxious or afraid? And what could you lose? Please share in the box.
We're just waiting for you guys to type something in.
What changes are you going through? And what is it about this change that makes you anxious or afraid? And what could you lose as a result?
So what do we have here? Okay, let me read this out. Change, offering a new business offer, anxious, might not make money, could lose time spent setting it up.
Right. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, well done for sharing that.
Yeah.
again, change, a new business program.
Right, okay.
Elocution lessons, might lose my identity of being myself.
Right, thank you. Thank you for sharing those.
Yeah, that they're all very brave of you to share those things.
But it is, so thank you
Yeah.
very much. And as I said previously, getting it out there is the first step towards addressing it.
I've got another one,
Oh,
Carol, sorry,
okay,
just to
thank you.
read it
That's
out.
okay.
Getting customers and companies.
Right. And they are all very common fears about making changes.
Yes, so sorry, getting customers and companies could lose time and flexibility.
Great, thank you. In order to develop a more resilient self, we need to change the destructive things that we say to ourselves when we experience setbacks. And that is the central skill of optimism. And when you're faced with a adverse situation, or the way that you explain your situation determines how helpless you become or how energized you are when you're facing a setback. So if you can, the negative thinking that you have about your situation, if you can look at it in a more optimistic way, it will help you to feel more energized about it, and that will help you to pick yourself up. And once you're feeling more optimistic, you're more open to seeing solutions and choices, what choices you have available, and finding solutions. Now I'll give you an example of my 65-year-old client. So she was 65, faced with redundancy, but she was unable to retire because she hadn't built up enough pension. She'd had quite an eclectic career. She'd worked sort of overseas and spent time as a teacher doing different things, an administrator. So she'd done a variety of things, but over the years, and it's easily done when you're young, you think you've got all the time in the world, you don't really think about your pension, and then once you get to that age, she hadn't built up her pension, so she was unable to retire. And she thought that she was too old to get another job. And what she was doing, she was applying for jobs beneath her skill set because she didn't think that anybody would want her, so her confidence was affected, so she was going for jobs which she was more than capable of doing. And she'd never claimed benefits in her life, and the thought of having to sign on and claim benefits just filled her with fear. And she was also taking on other people's fears because people were saying to her, oh, you'll never get another job because you're too old. And she was buying into that, and that was just feeding her fears and fueling them. And she thought, she's going to end up a desolate old lady. However, what Pamela did through coaching, she was able to increase her resilience, and once she'd increased her resilience, she was able to develop a more optimistic outlook. And having a more optimistic outlook, it improved her confidence, and she started to apply for jobs within her skill set, so jobs that she was capable of doing. And the first job that she applied for, she got an interview which really boosted her confidence. And although she didn't get that particular job, she got some really good feedback, and they really liked her. And they said to her that the person that got it just picked her to the post because they had a bit more experience, and if that person turned it down, they were going to offer it to her. Anyway, that didn't happen, but she did get offered a job anyway. And she recognized that other people's fears didn't have to be hers. She didn't have to take on their fears. And quite often when people do put their fears on you, it's about them, and they may have got fears of their own, but you recognize that other people's fears don't have to be yours. And she came to a place of acceptance. Now, looking at your situations, what happens if you do nothing? How will you feel in 1 year? How will you feel in 3 years? What would be the impact to your relationships? What would be the impact to your motivation? What would be the impact to your health even? What happens if you do nothing? And please share in the box. If you do nothing, you stay as you are, what will happen?
It's a wasted opportunity, Carol.
Great, thank you.
Hold on, got some more. Wasted opportunity, I'll go out of business. It's as simple as that.
Right, thank you for sharing.
Fabulous.
Right, thank you very much for sharing those. And here are some examples of what clients have come up with. If they do nothing, they will stay stuck in a rut, totally demotivated, unfulfilled, feeling low, low self-confidence, stressed, miserable. Not a pretty picture, is it? Now, if it's okay with you, I'll just quickly tell you about my online training that I mentioned. So it's called 4 Steps to Freedom, From Fear to Fabulous in 4 weeks, and it starts on the 5th of November. And if you constantly hesitate to pursue what you really want for your career because you're scared to take the leap, or you're fearful that things might not work out, or if a lack of self-confidence is holding you back in your career or business, or if you want to make changes but you're worried about taking a risk, and if you can identify with any of this, then this training is ideal for you. So every Thursday for 4 weeks, starting the 5th of November, you will receive training in the following areas: eliminating self-limiting beliefs, developing resilience so that you bounce back from setbacks, overcoming procrastination, and keeping the motivation going. And this will equip you with tools and techniques that will help you to develop the right mindset needed to go for and achieve your goals and aspirations. So Module 1, the Self-Limiting Belief Buster, you will explore where your self-limiting beliefs come from. You will identify your particular self-limiting beliefs and what you need to do to overcome them. And you will learn practical techniques to help you overcome them. And you'll apply the learning to your personal situation. So each week I will set you tasks, and you will also come up with your own actions as well in order to help you work through your situation. And this will help you to feel more confident and less fearful. It will help you to recognize when you are self-sabotaging and holding yourself back. It will help you to be confident in marketing your skills and services. It will help you to confidently pursue what you really want in your career or business. Module 2, bouncing back from setbacks. You will learn why going through change can have such a devastating effect and what you can do to make change easier for yourself. You'll overcome fears of rejection so that when you get told no, whether it's a promotion, a new job, or a new client, you will be able to confidently pick yourself up and move on. And this will help you to bounce back from setbacks, help you to view your situation rationally, help you to embrace change, and not to take rejection personally, and will help you to have an optimistic outlook. Module 3, beating procrastination. As I mentioned, it's the biggest killer of time, and it stops you from achieving your goals. So whether you constantly leave things till the last minute or you get overwhelmed by what you need to do, this module will show you why we do it and how you can overcome it. And this will help you to not beat yourself up. It will help you with self-acceptance and self-management. It will help you to manage stress. And it will help you to identify your procrastination triggers and how you can manage them. And Module 4, keeping the motivation going. You will learn more, and we've sort of touched on it earlier, about why your career or business vision is so important. You'll identify your values and understand why they are so important, because your values go to the core of who you are. And when you're looking at your career vision and your business vision, your values play a big part in it. And also when you're creating your vision, you will look at it in conjunction with your personal vision, because your personal life and your professional life are very intertwined. And you'll understand the importance of goal setting and what is most likely to make you not achieve them. And you'll identify ways in which to keep motivated going forward. So this will help you create your long-term vision. You'll understand what motivates you. You'll be clear about your goals, and you'll recognize what prevents you achieving your goals, and you'll put in place techniques to stay motivated. And what you get with this, you'll get workbooks for each module full of practical exercises so that you can practically apply the learning to your situation. There'll be a question and answer session following each module. And in between sessions, you'll get support in a private Facebook group, so you can come in the group, and if you've got any questions for me, if you want to share your experiences about how your week's going, you can do that in the Facebook group. And you will have access to recordings to all the modules for 1 month following completion of the program. And this is an email I received from a woman called Rejoice, who did the program earlier on this year. She said, "Hi Carol, Fear to Fabulous is one of the best webinars I have ever attended. I finished the course with tangible evidence of progress. The weekly exercises and targets really pushed me. I remember the first week's exercise where I aimed to get 20 new likes on my page. I only got 2. As I gained confidence, I started networking more and now get 20 likes a week. In the 4 weeks since the webinar ended, likes have increased from 30 to 125 and counting. And that's not the only thing. An acquaintance who I hadn't spoken to in 3 months said, 'You've changed. You seem more confident in marketing your skills. Who have you been hanging around with?' To keep on track, I now have an accountability buddy with whom I meet every fortnight. Thanks, Carol. Regards, Rejoice." So the cost of this program is £347, and it comes with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if any time during the course of the program you're not satisfied, then you'll get a full refund. And that's never happened, but the guarantee is there should you feel dissatisfied at any time. For those that are doing my webinar, those of you online, I'm offering it to you for £197. Now, I'm not asking you to make a decision today. I'm not asking you to make a decision tomorrow. As a bonus, you'll get attendance at a workshop that I'm doing in central London on the 17th of January. And at this workshop, we will set out your vision for 2015. You'll identify what your goals are for the year and what you need to do to achieve those, as well as identifying any obstacles or self-limiting beliefs that are likely to hold you back from achieving them. And you'll put together an action plan for you to go away and work on achieving that vision. And anyone online who's outside the UK or outside London, so is unable to come to this workshop, you get a 1-hour one-to-one Skype coaching session with me. So you can secure your place at www.feartofabulous.eventbrite.co.uk and use the promotional code WEBINAR in order to get your discount. And as I said, I'm not asking you to make a decision today. I'm not asking you to make a decision tomorrow. I want you to go away, think about it, think of how this will benefit you and the impact it will have on your life. And if you want to do the program, book by 5 p.m. on the 4th of November. So just to wrap up and to go over what we've covered, in order to move from fear to fabulous, develop your career and business vision and looking at yourself as a whole, because as I mentioned, your professional and personal life are intertwined. So you need to have a view of the whole you. Change your faulty thinking to helpful thinking. So if you remember what I said, the way that we think controls how we feel and react and behave in accordance to the way that we're feeling. And the client I mentioned to you who was facing restructuring, the one who thought she was going to be made homeless, She said a lot of people had said to her, "Oh, you're going to be okay. Oh, you'll be fine. You'll be all right. You'll ace the interview." But she said, despite those people telling her that, she didn't feel okay. That didn't help. In fact, it only made things worse for her. And the reason why that was is because she couldn't see that for herself. She had to be able to see that for herself, and that's what the coaching provided her, that space to be able to reflect on her feelings and her thoughts, and to change those and to view her situation in a more rational way. And it was on achieving that she was able to feel more confident and less fearful about what she had to go through. Overcome procrastination. So if you're finding what you need to do is so boring, set yourself challenges. If you're finding it overwhelming, break it down into manageable chunks and eliminate distractions. And develop your resilience by changing your destructive self-talk when you experience setbacks. So view your situation in a more optimistic way. And on the program, there's exercises that we do that will enable you to do this. What will life be like if you take action? So by coming on this webinar today, and you go away and you make changes, you take action, what will your life be like in a year's time, 2 years' time, 3 years' time? What will life be like if you take action? Please share your thoughts in the box.
Oh yes, that's a great question, Carol. So it'd be good to hear from everyone. Just give people a couple of seconds while they type it in. I know it always takes a bit longer, especially if you're sort of like maybe listening on an iPad or even your mobile phone. Sometimes you've got to, you know.
That's right, yeah, sometimes there is a little bit of a delay. And also some people may need time to just reflect on the question.
I think for me, it would be about not holding me back in my business, that I'd have the confidence. So one of the things I've been trying to do is to have my online program, and I'm getting a bit closer and closer to that all the time. But it has been elements around the fear factor that's held me back.
Yes.
So, and I think for me, I would be, you know, I wouldn't have that fear. My online program would be out there. I would be helping and engaging my clients who I know get a lot of value from what I do.
And they certainly do. They certainly do get a lot of value from what you do.
Yes, thank you, Carol. So we've got proud of meeting potential. Yeah, I can definitely associate with that. Increase my revenue, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Stay in business, increase my motivation and satisfaction. And I think all business, well, I don't know, I'm saying this, I'm wrong here, but I think a lot of business owners, I know I do, you know, you do get worried about where is the next client coming from, you know, where's that stream of revenue, because you've got to pay your bills, your mortgage and things like that.
Yes.
I'd be much happier and proud of myself. So that's really great.
That is
fulfilled
fantastic.
and empowered to achieve my goals, and business will grow and my income will grow too. Absolutely. All really, really good.
Yes, they are
comments.
really good. And all what you've said is possible. It's down to you to take the action and take that step forward. Which moves me on to my last question. What will you do differently going forward? As a result of being on this webinar tonight and the information that I've shared with you, what will you do differently going forward? Because if you're going to come off this webinar and you're just going to go and watch TV, Coronation Street or whatever's on the TV tonight, you're just going to go and watch TV and not do anything, then it will have been a waste of your time coming online tonight. So what will you commit to doing differently going forward in order to help you get closer to what you've just said your life will be like if you take action.
So again, everyone, if you just type in the chat box, we can then share your views and your comments. So here we go. All right, listen to this. Going to call in the morning and get on with it. So I'm assuming is going to do some call. Oh, sorry. I've missed out the whole bit. Hold on. Right, before I go and watch The Apprentice, I will be doing that too. I'll make a list of those companies I'm going to call in the morning and get on with it. Well done.
Well done.
That is amazing.
It is, yeah.
Think positively about new business offer and be excited for opportunity, not worried if it doesn't work. I agree. And when you get excited about something, it's all about raising that level of vibration in you as well. That's sort of like starts bringing in all that good stuff. Let's just see if anybody else has written anything. That's it for the moment, Carol. I don't want to miss anyone out. Okay, yeah.
All right, for any questions, and I'll put up the screen for those that want to book.
I've just got... Sorry, go ahead, Carol. No, go ahead.
It's www.theatrefabulous.eventbrite.co.uk and use the promotional code webinar and pay only £197.
I've just got another one to add, Carol. Take action and go into speak. Oh, and go into a speaking event. So I don't know if you're going to speak at that event and do a talk. And also as well, just for the person who has got, fear of public speaking, because I can totally, I resonate with that. You know, people have said that Toastmasters is quite good for that type of training.
Yes, I've heard that it is as
well. The thing is, though, you do need the confidence, don't you, to get up there and do it. And once you've done it,
That's right. It's overcoming those self-limiting beliefs.
Yes, absolutely.
And I the confidence to do that.
I totally agree with that, Carol, because when I was in the corporate world, I never used to do any speaking. And I used to shy away from it, and nobody could believe I wasn't very good at speaking. And it wasn't that I wasn't good at speaking, because I was fine one-to-one, I was fine in a group setting, in a meeting. But to stand up in front of people, this just like wave of panic came over me. And I used to feel sick and all types of things. But when I got into my business after about a year, I just said to myself, look, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to get over it and do it. And I actually went like Carol, well, not like Carol, but like I didn't know Carol at the time. And I went to somebody who was a coach who helped me with my confidence. And that was it. Once I got over it, although I still went through feeling a bit unconfident, I had the confidence to do it. And the more I did it, the better I got, the more relaxed I was at doing it.
That's right. Because once you can overcome those self-limiting beliefs about what you think is going to happen, it takes away that anxiety about the situation. And on the program, what we do is we do exercises and how people have actions to take away and apply to their situations that helps them to overcome their self-limiting beliefs.
And Carol, we've got a lot of coaches who've booked on. They're either on tonight or they've actually booked on and they want to get a webinar or a copy of this webinar. So they're either coaches or therapists. And is this something that can apply to anyone regardless what business they're in?
That's right, yes, regardless of the business. When I've done this program, I've had people who are in business, people who are in employment, different types of businesses, because your self-limiting beliefs, that's your psychological beliefs about yourself.
Yeah. And sometimes, would you say that even if you are a coach, to go to another coach, it just actually helps you through that process?
Well, yeah, because as coaches, we're still human,
Yeah.
and we still have our own self-limiting beliefs. I mean,
Yeah.
I have coaches
Yes.
myself
Yeah.
because, you know, there are times when my self-limiting beliefs come to the fore, and it's having the space that coaching provides that enables you to reflect on your situation, and also the challenging that goes on in the
Yeah.
coaching relationship as well.
Brilliant. So I just want to say, if anybody's got any questions, to please just put them in the box so that we can answer. You know, if you've got any questions about the course, or if you've got any questions about anything that Carol has said, please just pop it in the box. We'd love to hear from you.
I certainly would love to hear.
And when does your course start, Carol? I
On
know,
the 5th of November?
right, so people have got to be paid up and booked on by the 4th
Yeah.
of November. Okay, so I've got a
Mm-hmm.
question here, which
Mm-hmm.
is, where is the venue?
The program,
Yeah,
it's an online program, so you do
brilliant.
it from the comfort of your own home.
That's fantastic. So basically, people just dial in as we've dialed in
Yeah.
today. They'll get the program and then they'll get a copy of the recording.
Yes, yeah, they'll get access to the recording. That will be a live, like how we've done tonight. So you'll come on live, and we'll do exercises. I will share information. I will share teachings with you, and you'll do practical exercises online. And then there'll be a question and answer session each session, and then you will have exercises to do in between sessions to implement the learning.
And what about your one-day event that you're holding in London, Carol? Do you know
That's
where
in
you're?
central. That's in
Central
central
London.
London. Yeah.
Have you chosen a location for that yet?
I've provisionally got a location, and that is it's one of the University of London's buildings.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. That was a great question. That was about the venue and location. If there's any more questions at all? Just pop them in the box.
Yes, it can be anything. It could be, like as Carol said, it can be about the program. It could be about anything that we've covered in the webinar.
We've got a lovely message here from Alexandra saying, thank you, Carol and Carol.
You're welcome, Alexandra.
Well, if there are no questions coming in from anyone, do you want to bring it to a close, Carol?
Yes, yes. Well, thank you everybody for coming online.
Thank you,
And I hope that
everyone.
you've got something that you can take away with you. And for those of you that are going to sign up for the program, I look forward to working with you and supporting you.
Yes, and Claudia's just said great webinar. Thank you.
You're welcome, Claudia. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Okay, thanks.
Take
Goodbye.
care. Bye.